do is go into the regular unsharp mask filter. So that's filter, sharpen, unsharp mask, or for me it's just F4. Okay, and I'm going to do a sharpen of 200%, and then depending on what I want to sharpen, it would be the radius. So if I really wanted to sharpen these waves that are in the front here that are soft, I'd have to use a big radius, okay? See what that does? Okay. I mean, it's basically changing the local contrast on that area, okay? But a radius of 20 isn't going to work too well like back here because you start seeing a shadow. So you can actually sort of see a shadow on the edge of the guy there, see? See the difference? But see what it does to the background here? See how it pops out the details on those hills and things? Okay, so 20 is a little bit too much. So let's try 10. Okay, so that works okay. I mean, usually I use like 3 to 5, but on this particular image, since I've got the waves and everything, I'm going to actually use 10, okay? So that just adds some local contrast. And then if you say view print size, then you sort of get an idea. So if I was going to print that at 270 DPI, that would actually be the size of the print, okay? So you can see what that does. There's before, there's after. So usually, you know, if I look at it, you know, if you bump it up to 50%, that sort of gives you an idea. Or go down to 25%. And then the threshold setting, if you have a lot of noise in something, like if I look at the water here, okay, there is some noise there. Okay, so if the threshold is set to 0, then it's going to pop that noise a little bit more. Okay, see, there's before, there's after. Okay. So if you increase your threshold, you know, like when you set your threshold to 5, what that means is don't sharpen anything unless there's a difference of at least 5 between adjacent pixels. Okay, so if you bump the threshold up to 5, then that noise that's added, the little pixelated noise, is not going to be as much as if your threshold is at 0. Okay. Okay, so that's what I normally do for sharpening my gallery images. And generally the canvases I would sharpen a little bit more than the luster prints because you know, the canvas has that rough texture, so it's a little bit more forgiving. You know, if you over sharpen the luster prints, then you can see it in the print, you know, so you don't want to overdo it, you know, so. Well, you know, with the Epson printers, you know, I usually I set the printer at 1440 DPI because I found that, you know, you really don't get anything extra for the 2880 except it uses more ink. But I mean, I can't see a difference. It just takes longer to print and it uses more ink. But I can see a difference between the 1440 and the 720 setting. So I print on the printer at 1440. So if you use 360 pixels per inch, that's a quarter of the 1440, and so it is a little bit sharper. But I mean, I'm talking, you know, I'm nearsighted, and if I take off my glasses and I do this, you know, I can see a little bit better, sharper diagonal lines. Okay, so I mean, if you're looking at a print on the wall, most people aren't going to notice the difference. Okay, so that's why if I needed the print to go a little bit bigger, I would print it at 270. On the other hand, if I've got lots of data, like if I'm printing from one of my 4x5 camera images, you know, I might print that at 480, which is actually even a little bit sharper than the 360. But I mean, we're splitting hairs here. I mean, in my printmaking workshops, most photographers really can't tell the difference, you know, so. And 270. Again, I wouldn't go, I try not to go much below 270 I mean, I have printed things at 180, but like on canvas when somebody wants a really big print, but I don't usually like to go that low because the print gets a little bit soft. I mean, the details are not as crisp as if you do like the 360. So. Other questions?
And like, what's your max to up res?
Usually twice as many pixels in each dimension. If you go much beyond that, it starts losing things. You know, then you might want to look at genuine fractals or something like that. Although I'm not convinced that genuine fractals does a perfect job either, but I haven't spent a lot of time playing with it, so.
If you're working black and white, do you have to worry about more resolution?
Well, not more than 360 or 480, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, if I was down at 180, it might look a little soft, yeah. So let me just show you a couple other images that I have over there and sort of how I use the layers, and I'll just sort of quickly go through that. And then I'll just open it up to questions. But while this is saving, does anybody have any questions?
How do you decide which images to print for your gallery?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I spent last winter sorting all the images. I moved up to the Sunshine Coast 5 years ago, and I spent last winter sorting all those images. And then, you know, and I've got hundreds of images, thousands of images, and there's, you know, probably almost 1,000 on my website. You know, so sometimes somebody will pick one from my website and they say they want a print of it. So then I'll do that. Otherwise, I try to pick the ones that I like the most, and, you know. Yeah, certainly like that beach slippers image, I've sold over 100 of those, you know, the different sizes and things in my gallery. So if I could get 4 or 5 other images that sell that well, you know, I'd be doing great, you know. So I'm certainly trying to pick some other ones, but it's, you know, to some extent, you know, what I like in an image may not be the same as somebody that walks in the door, you know.
So have you quantified what makes that image sell over, say, the image that's sitting next to it that doesn't sell at all?
Well, if it doesn't sell at all, I get rid of it. But you know, like some of the images I have in there, I may have only sold, you know, 3 or 4 copies, and then other ones 10, and then that one I've sold 100. That particular image is just an unusual image because, in fact, why don't I just pull it up here? So a lot of the local people have seen this. It's actually a little changing shack on the beach, and a lot of people have seen it. And the light was just really interesting that day because, you know, I got the afternoon sun, but you know, you can see through the glass, and you can see the shelf on the inside that has things. But then you've also got this great reflection of the beach, you know, going back here. And this is a really long beach. You know, you can walk from here, you know, all the way around, and it sort of curves around. And this little change, it's a little changing room. So I think that's part of it. It's just sort of mysterious the way there's a reflection. But then the other thing is, you know, a lot of the local people know that this shack belongs to this 85-year-old couple. And it's actually this 85-year-old couple, and they swim every day of the year. I mean, the water gets pretty cold there in the wintertime, you know. Actually, the water in the summer, I've been out there when it's been 68 degrees. Gets pretty warm in the summertime. It's pretty nice. You wouldn't think of Canada as having 68-degree water, but it's actually warmer than on the Oregon coast. Because you got Vancouver Island blocking the really cold stuff. So in the summer, it actually heats up. So anyhow, and then they put their little slippers there to dry.